So lots of modern tracks nowadays don't even use melodies. You can make such interesting, complex sounding music with just rhythm alone, no melodies involved. Let me show you this example. Let's have a listen to this little section in here. So what you just heard, there is not a single melody in there. Every single thing in this project has just been processed or programmed to be rhythmically interesting and moving around, but there's no melodies involved. If I look at this track, for instance, even this one sounds like a melody. But if you look into it, it's just the effects section. I've got this EQ that's programmed to be moving around randomly, like if I turn that off. So it's just all rhythmic processing techniques. That's it. Let's just take a moment to talk about probably my favorite thing. It sounds like a segue to an ad, but it's not. Almost everyone should be familiar with this sound. This is a rhythmic technique. This is called a trance gate. So what's happening is we've got this synth here, this regular synth, and it's being triggered to be playing in a sort of chopped rhythm every 16th note by this sound here. So how this works is you get a gate device here and you expand it and you get the side chain from this trigger here. So now it's chopping it up and I just put some reverb after it and voila. But let's take this a step further. I've got this drum loop here, right? Damn. If I could sidechain the gate to the synth loop, then what's stopping me from doing it to the drums? So I've got this drum loop here now. I'm just going to go to this sidechain gate and get the trigger from the drum loop this time, and check this out. If you've never seen this before, this is honestly groundbreaking because this means that you can get any drum loop and any sound, get the rhythm from the drum loop and apply it to any other sound. This opens up a world of possibilities when it comes to rhythmic processing techniques. This is just audio, so I can actually swap this synth out with any other synth. I could do the exact same thing with the drum loop. I could just grab a different rhythmic loop here and just put that in there. I'm just going to turn it off. What is happening is we're simply just getting the rhythm from this track and we're getting the sound or the audio from this track and we're just combining them together to create this end result. So if you've never seen this before, you're welcome. Welcome to the club. Before you go try that out there, I want to show you one more thing. I live in Melbourne, Australia. There's this interesting scene for this rhythmic focused trance music. Check this out. So this sound here is simply just a pad that I've added some volume shaping to. So volume shaping is potentially even simpler than sidechaining gates because all you need is this plugin. I've got this one called Gatekeeper here. It has a whole bunch of presets. I flicked through them and then found this one and tweaked it a little bit. But we can see that this sound here, it's just a pad that has some LFO on the filter and I just cranked this resonance here. And then added a little bit of rhythm just by this volume shaper. It's actually ridiculous how powerful these things are. You can create really cool rhythms out of pretty much just anything that you put in front of them. So let's just flick this around a little bit and have a look. I really like this preset as well. Let's just play that with the percussion here as well. Let's just flick this through maybe a little bit, something random. That's cool as well. I would highly recommend trying to look for sounds and tones that have a lot of movement in them. And then once you put the volume shaper on afterwards, it has a whole bunch of movement already baked into it. So that way you're gonna make much more interesting sounds. I also just wanna touch on the power of resonators as well. So this is actually just a drum loop that I've just chopped up and sort of mangled. If I remove all of these effects here, I'm just gonna turn them off and go into this, unwarp it. I pitched it up a whole bunch, warped it, sort of chopped it up, came up with this sort of sound here. If I had resonators onto this device, this is an Ableton effect. This is the start of creating some really interesting sounds as well. I've added a pitch shifter on there afterwards as well with some ring modulation. And then you just start modulating things. You want things to be moving around. You want things to be changing, because if this is a static sound, it sounds really boring. Added some vinyl distortion. I just experimented adding a whole bunch of things until I came up with this. And then pair that with Gatekeeper as well, and you get some really interesting rhythms. So let's just check this out. In this track, I actually added a whole bunch of EQ here and made it like a low end element. And that sort of just glues with the bass line nicely. So music should be about having fun and enjoying the process. If you can't write melodies, don't force it. Just try out some rhythmic processing techniques instead. So thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.